everybody, and welcome to episode lucky number 13 of On the Flank. I am one of your hosts, John George, alongside Joe Kirkpatrick. Say hello, Joe.
Hello, as always, everybody.
Yeah, you always have to say hello. And when it comes to analysis, we are On the Flank. Joe, something just came out. As a nerd, as a big fan, this was my childhood. Have you seen it yet? The Detective Pikachu trailer.
I just watched it like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to make of it, but I also want to watch it. So,
So right now I'm having like my Pokemon resurrection of sorts. As a kid, I loved Pokemon, and all of a sudden I have just fallen back in love with it. It's because I got the latest for my 3DS. I got Pokemon Moon, and it's a fantastic game. I haven't heard too much about it, and honestly, I love it a lot.
the new one's coming out in like 4 days or something.
Oh yes, it is. I am asking for that one for Christmas. I don't think it. It looks like it's very simplified version of the original ones, in my opinion. So I'm not going to use my own money to purchase it, but I'm excited to try it out because it looks super cool.
Welcome to the Pokemon podcast.
Yeah, this is
Bob, I choose you.
They definitely need to make Bob a Pokemon. If they had an Overwatch Pokemon like crossover event, whew, that would be insane. But yeah,
I bet that could be a voice line though. Bob, I choose you.
Bob, I choose you. If they did like a Pokemon skin for Ash, because Ash is
Ooh,
Ash is
ooh,
Ash
I like
for
it.
Pokemon.
There we
Yeah,
go.
exactly. But yeah, I guess we should start talking about Overwatch. Branding. Today's the big branding episode. We got 3 brands to grade. Joe, you excited to brand these or grade these brands? Brand these grades?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be good.
Oh yeah. We also, I mean, technically all the brands are kind of revealed at this point. I guess we'll lead off with the fact that they all got leaked via the Overwatch app, the classic Overwatch app, except
for Vancouver.
Except for Vancouver. Vancouver's the little sneaky sly secret team over here.
The Vancouver Runaways.
Yeah, the old Vancouver Runaways. But yes, we did get it was confirmed correct once we got that Paris logo in there. We saw the Guangzhou and the Chengdu officially now. The 2 other ones are Hangzhou, which is a finger pointing thing, and the DC Justice, Washington Justice, which is a shitty shield made in Microsoft Paint. But we'll talk more about those when they're officially revealed. But apparently, I saw today on the subreddit, I don't know if it's a good source or not, but apparently someone attended a Vancouver event and had found out the information that Vancouver will be announcing their roster in 3 weeks.
Yeah, like first week of December or something. I saw that too.
Yeah, because they're going to have a gamer night at the Vancouver Canucks arena. It's the same owner as the Vancouver Canucks, which is a hockey team if you are not a sports fan. But yeah, so I imagine branding will be before that. We got 3 brandings in 1 week. I imagine we're going to get 3 more this week, hopefully, and finish it off. But I'm always way too hopeful about these things.
Yeah, you never know.
All right, let's start off with the first one that was announced at Toronto style at a lovely event in Paris. In Paris, everyone was there. The management, the players themselves, and even the commissioner Nate Nancer was there in Paris for that big event that was streamed on Twitch. The other 2 teams didn't do these events. I think the only other one so far is Toronto that did an event or an official announcement. Let's just talk about the event first. What'd you think? Did you watch the event at all, Joe?
I didn't know, but I'm glad that they're doing it. I mean, particularly because this is the Paris team that we talked about region affiliations and stuff, and so to be able to actually have an EU event for what many consider the only EU team, that I'm sure that's helpful. Maybe even more so for Paris than for Toronto. Helping them build that brand, because I mean, because all these new teams are at a super disadvantage coming into season two just because they're not established. Um, and so this isn't on our list of things to talk about. But if we wanted to just get into the Toronto Esports, Toronto Defiant thing, that these teams that are not established, they've got to be really careful about what they do, but they've also got lots of work to build up, a fan base that the other teams just sort of naturally got by virtue of existing.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so it's a good start for them, definitely, Emma. I appreciated that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I've seen these threads on competitive Overwatch that are basically asking like if you're going to be a fan of one of the new teams, which one and why. Most of the why was not because I'm from here. It was because this certain player is rumored to be on it, or these colors, or this, or like I'm from EU and all this stuff, which is very interesting. But I guess the top upvoted post would probably not be Paris because I live in Paris. That's not the most interesting of comments.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, they do. Luckily, the city-based thing gives them a nice branding advantage where you already have the advantage of if someone's from Houston, they're gonna like the Houston Outlaws more likely. But it's a good idea for people like Paris, who I mean they're a very very long flight away from Paris or over in LA. They're rarely going to see this team in person ever until the off season, so it's good that they get to see them now and get people attached live in person. Let's move on to grading them. Of course, if you didn't listen to our previous branding grades episode, we give a grade to the team nickname, the team logo, and then the team colors. We're starting with Paris Eternal, of course. Let's start it off with the team name. Let's get the team name out of the way. You start us off, Joe, with Paris Eternal.
Well, I don't want to steal your thunder. I think you should start.
Okay, fine. I'll start off with the Paris Eternal. So when this was first rumored, I was very upset. I tweeted about it. I'm so sick of these adjective team nicknames. Toronto Defiant did it too. Toronto Defiant, Boston Uprising, all these terrible adjective nicknames. Los Angeles Valiant. Like, there's no physical represent. Like, I like how Los Angeles did it. They had a physical representation of what Valiant was with their logo and all this stuff. Toronto Defiant, they didn't have a physical representation. I had no clue what they meant by Defiant. I like Paris Eternal's branding a little bit more at their logo, but I still don't like the name. It's so edgy, right? It's trying so hard to be cool that it's just make your nickname a noun. You don't have to. It just has to be simple, you know.
You just be the Paris Roosters and call it good.
Paris Roosters. Honestly, I would like Paris Roosters some more, even though that's kind of a stupid mascot to have. I would like it more. Like Houston Outlaws, all these like cool like noun nicknames are my favorite personally because it's just a nice little mascot. I really like it a lot. I mean there are tons of options to choose from, and it doesn't necessarily even have to fit with your city to be cool. I'm from Detroit. We have the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Lions. Tigers and Lions don't live in Detroit, but they're still cool. But yeah, they can also relate it to the city if they want. But yeah, I'm sick of these adjective nicknames. I'm giving this one an F. Come on, Paris, you're not being cool with this. What are you giving it, Joe?
Well, yeah, so I tend to agree, and I think even among we've got these new teams, including Toronto Defiant, also with the adjective. But yeah, I think this is the name that I like the least. I don't know, it just doesn't have very much. It kind of reminds me of Seoul Dynasty a little bit in terms of that it's sort of presumptuous, but it's not even that. I don't know. It just seems kind of meh. I don't know. So yeah, it doesn't get a very good grade out. if I guess we might as well use the full scale. So yeah, I'll go ahead and give it an F as well.
Yeah, I mean, at least
Normally, yeah, I
Dynasty,
wouldn't be so mean, but
at
you
least
know,
Dynasty is now, and at least you can have a Dynasty.
it's true.
um,
Even if it's a J Kong dynasty.
yeah. But yeah, big F. But we turn to the logo and the colors, and I think I have a little bit of a different grade here for these. We'll go to the logo. Obviously, Joe, you were a bit confused on what the logo meant. I think a lot of people are like, "Why is it a rooster?" That doesn't have anything to do with Eternal. Roosters don't live that long, and the reason why it's a rooster is because actually, Joe, you have the exact wording on that, don't you? I feel like you should explain this rather than me. I just have a very limited knowledge on it.
Yeah, so I looked it up because I was curious back when that was announced. Yeah, because you had said, well, the rooster, that's sort of a national thing for France, and it's like on their soccer team jersey and
Yeah,
stuff. But so I looked it up, and apparently it's a wordplay thing for all you wordplay people.
puns.
The Latin for rooster, which is Gallus or Gallus maybe, sounds like Gaul, which was the word that the Romans used to refer to the land that is now, and the people who live in the land that is now France. Um, so it's this connection to old-timey Gaul then that led to the rooster thing that evidently has been carried all the way through the culture and now also to Overwatch.
Do you think the Romans ever thought to themselves when they called it Gaul that they would eventually get a rooster logo out of the Overwatch League video game players? I don't think they did.
I can't imagine that they would have. No.
Julius Caesar, that man had a big impact. All right. But yeah, to rate the logo, you got a nice little reference to Eternal in there with like the infinity sign symbol in there. Overall, I mean, I'm not obviously that part reminds me of their name and that frustrates me. But it's a really cool logo. I like the burgundy red. It's a nice little red with like a tint, just a touch of purple in there. Just a little touch of purple in there. Um and I really like the rooster. I've always really liked the rooster on France's national soccer team jerseys. I've liked them a lot. That's honestly that's one of the reasons why I've always wanted to get a France jersey. Is they're nice and clean and they got that sweet symbol on there, and I really like this rooster as well. It's a pretty cool rooster. I'm gonna give this logo a B plus.
There you go. Yeah, I'm a fan of this because it's they could have just put a rooster on their icon, but no, it's super stylized and like fancy, like you would expect out of something from France, which is cool. Um, and then the other thing, oh yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like Prince's guitar. I don't know if you can see it because it's almost got like a P in there, um,
Oh,
sort of for Paris, but I don't know if that's intended or not. But at any rate, but yeah, so it's cool, super cool. It's not like busy, which like the we haven't actually seen it yet, but this Hangzhou logo I'm not super a fan of. But it's not like that. Um, are we doing colors too, or just the logo?
just the logo. We'll move on to colors after that.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the logo. Yeah. So they did the best with what they've got. I think that's pretty fair to say. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I'd give it an A. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's a good one.
yeah.
Um, yeah, when you already are putting yourself at a disadvantage when you're naming your team Paris Eternal, and then you're just like, okay, what do we make the logo? I mean, Toronto Defiant was just like, TD, I guess.
TD.
So you're already putting yourself at a pretty big disadvantage there. But colors. I messaged you right after this was revealed, and I told you I was in love with the colors. I really, really like the colors. It reminds me overall. This entire reveal reminds me of European soccer. It bleeds European soccer. The logo is just like that national team, as we said, and the colors are FC Barcelona, the team that Lionel Messi is on, of course. And the colors are exactly FC Barcelona. I'm not kidding you. These are the colors of FC Barcelona. Um, and they're beautiful. I really like FC Barcelona. I think uses their gold too, like, not as an accent. They use it too much as a normal color. Paris is using it as an accent, and I like it a lot. Unless you count their Twitter picture, which I believe is currently a yellow background, which is kind of disgusting to me. Um, but in this picture specifically, I really like the skins. Everyone's complaining blue and red, but it's unique. It's a darker burgundy red. The blue is even a bit different from most, and then you got that nice gold accent, specifically on Widow, and I can't wait to see it on people like Orisa, Genji, where the accents are gonna be there even more. I'm giving the colors an A. I love them.
Yeah, it's I tend to lean more towards the blue and red camp myself, but you're right. It is a pretty distinct one. Kind of reminds me of some of the Overwatch World Cup skins that they had, which like
Oh yeah,
95% of the Overwatch World Cup teams
blue
were
and
also
red.
blue and red, because of the colors of flags. But but yeah, no, I do agree that they did do that well though. Um, it could have been a lot worse, I think, if they were just going for blue and red. I kind of wish they were doing like blue, red, and white or something, because then it could be kind of France flag type thing. But yeah, the gold is gonna work out, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a solid B definitely from me.
Okay. Yeah. No one's done blue, red, and white. No one's done white too much. Does any team like include? I guess their away jerseys are all white. What am I talking about? Um, let's move on.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see just like a black and white team this season, but I don't know if we're gonna get that.
Oh yeah, I mean that was the Toronto Venoms was the leaked
It's true.
black and white
It's
team.
true.
Yeah, so far it's not looking good. Specifically because of the leaked logos. I don't think we're getting a black and white. It's looking like we have like another light blue and white team, and then red, white, and blue for DC. And I think the rumor for Vancouver is the same as
Probably pink.
the same as the Canucks though, which is green and
Oh,
blue. But pink would be
really?
sweet.
More blue.
Hey, we
That's
haven't
rough.
got green and blue yet, have we?
That's true.
So
It's.
I
I
like
think
green
that's
and
true.
blue. I like green and blue a lot. Everyone complains about this blue, but in all honesty, every time a skin is revealed that isn't blue or red, in my opinion, the team fumbles it. The one I like is Fusion with their orange and black. I like green and black with the Outlaws, but the Shock absolutely fumbled their orange into eternity with their orange, yellow, and gray, which is disgusting. And we're going to talk about Chengdu, which I also think is pretty gross. So if these teams can't figure out how to not make their team red and blue, then just keep giving me the red and blue, because the other ones are ugly as hell. Let's move on to Guangzhou Charge, which is a unique blue. But they didn't have any events surrounding this. They just threw it out there. The good old Guangzhou Charge, another electricity name, just like the Shock. Huge rivalry incoming, and they should both be in the Pacific Division. So big rivalry. Um, Guangzhou Charge. Let's start off with. I mean, this one's not too deep of a dive, in all honesty. But let's start off with the team nickname. Joe, you start off this time. Give me a grade on the old Guangzhou Charge nickname.
I mean, it doesn't have a fancy backstory, at least that I know of. So,
Nope.
so for that, it's kind of eh. But but I do like the sort of theme they're going with the rest of the stuff. But yeah, Guangzhou Charge. It's not an adjective, so that's worth points. Um,
It's worth points.
w- and I suppose you can make I suppose Uber can make puns out of it, so that's probably also good.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's at least a B name probably.
Yeah.
Pretty low
I'm
standards, but you'll have that.
I know. I was just about to say that. Way too low of standards because of how terrible most of the team names are in this league. If the rest of the league included like now nicknames, this would be like fine, I guess. But the fact that it is one of the rare noun nicknames gets it a B for me as well, and I like it a lot because I don't know, it's simple, it's nice and simple, and I don't know, I like the lightning bolt theme they're going with. I always like the lightning bolt themes. It reminds me of the old San Diego, or it's Los Angeles now, Los Angeles Chargers. Um,
Yeah.
just like except they're not a charger, they're just the charge. Um, I like it. Let's move on to the logo now, which is nice and simplified, but you got that lightning bolt in the old blank space, Joe. Was it mind blowing when you saw that lightning bolt?
Oh, talk about being edgy, even though it's not quite edgy, but it's negative space, man. It's crazy.
It's just like FedEx.
Never seen that before.
Give me a grade, Joe.
But it's fine. It's whatever. It's only one color, so I guess that'll be my criteria for not giving it an A. I don't know.
Yeah.
At least outline it or something.
Yeah,
Um,
very
but
simplified.
sure, yeah. Give it another B.
I've talked
It's there.
I've talked about how I like Toronto Defiant because it's simple. Guangzhou's very similar. Um, I don't know which one I like better, Toronto Defiant, or at least Toronto Defiant had like a texture to it, kind of, I guess. Guangzhou's a little less texture. I like it. I mean, I'm gonna give it like a B minus. I think it definitely could have been a little bit more, little less simplified. Maybe an outline, maybe some different colors in there. But I think it's cool. I think it's nice and simple. I think it's growing on a lot of people too. I've seen a lot of people on Reddit say that it's really grown on them. So let's move on to the colors. This is actually the one team I haven't read the official press release for to see if they had like official colors on it. Maybe I did actually, and they didn't have them. Oh yes, they do. Dark blue, light blue, and lush green is what they're
Lush
calling their
green.
colors. Yes, which is I guess that like little neon. It's like a sea green almost.
So it's the accent. Yeah.
So what do you think about? I'm just like imagining like them reading all these comments, like stop making blue teams, and they're like, let's make it three different blue colors. What do you think about the colors?
But yeah, but in this case, I do really think it worked.
Yeah,
I am a fan. Actually, you sort of hinted that you don't like Chengdu either. I actually like both of these teams, Guangzhou and Chengdu. Um, but yeah, this one it's like a sea type of thing, right? That they've got a dark blue and a light blue. It's sort of an ocean greenish type thing. But I think the skin choices that they gave are they're showing a Moira here and Hanzo in the Guangzhou skins, and I think those are good choices too. I think to show off these colors, but yeah, I'm a fan. Just in order to keep that it's all super unified. They know exactly what they're trying to do
yeah.
with the skins and with the colors, and I think that's to be commended. Yeah, so I'll give this one an A. That's good.
I think Guangzhou at the end of the season is going to like I don't know. It's so simple now, and it just doesn't stand out compared to everything else because of how simple it is. But I think it's gonna be the most underrated, like branding overall. I think by the end of the season, they're gonna grow on me so much that it's gonna be one of my favorite brandings. I'm going colors. I'm going like an A. I've just mentioned it. I really like the color blue. I know everyone wants people to stop doing the doing blue, but honestly, as far as I can tell, almost every blue team has like a different secondary color or they're doing something different with the blue, and I don't mind that at all. I'm pretty sure in pro sports, majority of the teams are blue, and that's because blue is the best color. There's no doubt in my mind. Blue is the best color. We could get some more cool team colors though. I'm gonna take this time to promote some team colors that unfortunately I don't think we're going to get this season, but that need to happen. Yellow and purple. Yellow and purple. Very cool. Los Angeles Lakers are like the only team that do yellow and purple, and I think it looks really cool. Another yellow one. I know I talk about how much I hate yellow, But I was just in Pittsburgh, and every team is black and yellow there. I know there's some confusion about Chengdu and whether they're yellow and black or not. They're officially orange and black. I want just a normal yellow and black team.
I don't
Unfortunately,
know. I don't know how much you're cutting out on your recording, but you're cutting out pretty bad for me.
ooh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Like just then, just when you started talking about the other colors.
okay. It's on the thing. It's showing that I'm not cutting out at all. It might just be your internet.
Yeah, it might be. Okay. Well, then we keep going.
Okay. Um, yeah, but yellow, purple, yellow, black. I need those bad. I was thinking about yellow and orange. We have a yellow and orange team though. We have London Spitfire. Okay.
Chengdu kind of gave it to you, maybe.
Their official colors are orange, black, and gold. So
Oh.
yes, from the press release, it's orange, black, and gold. Everyone's very confused. I'm confused, and that will show up in their grade. But colors for Guangzhou. I really like the colors. Reminds me a lot of the football team, the Seattle Seahawks, which are blue and neon green. This is more of a neon sea bluish green, which I like a lot more than the Seahawks actually, because it's their neon is not in my face as much. Uh, Neon is awesome if used very subtly. All right. Let's move on to Chengdu, which I just previewed a little bit. But yeah, Chengdu. Let's start off with the Chengdu Hunters. I guess I'll start since we'll switch it off again. I'll start by grading their nickname, the Chengdu Hunters. Another good one. I like the Chengdu Hunters a lot. Hunters. That's a pretty unique noun nickname. I don't see hunters too often in anything else. I'm gonna give that an A. I like the Chengdu Hunters a lot.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Like particularly with um, they've got sort of like a knife hidden in their name text, which is cool. But yeah, it's a noun. It's like a group of people. Um, those are good. And people are talking to Reddit. Oh, they're hunters, but it's a panda, and you don't hunt the pandas and whatever. And it's like, yeah, sure, but it's an animal. I mean, so it like makes you think of
Hunting.
jungle and stuff. So it's effective.
Yeah,
Um,
even though
it, it,
pandas don't necessarily hunt, they just eat bamboo. But I mean,
yeah, it's whatever. They got their point across for what they need. So yeah, it's I'll give it an A. It's solid.
all right. Let's move on to the logo. Um, I guess I'll talk. Chengdu's all over the place for me. But honestly, their branding reveal is so confusing to me. I've never been confused. It's a bad reveal when I'm confused by it. But
With yeah, not the least of which is because they announced it on
and
like
and then took it
Saturday or
back.
Friday, and then took it all down, and then put it up again.
Yeah, I mean, it was that including that it is definitely the most confusing brand reveal for me. So, and that's mainly because like I'm looking right now at the Overwatch League page for it and the picture of it, and if I cover the logo, if I cover up like the name, if I cover up the skins, I could guess that Chengdu is like has three completely different color combinations, and it's so confusing to me. Like if I just look at the logo, they're gold and black. If I just look at their name, they're orange and black. And then if I look at the skins, they're yellow, gold, and black. I don't know what color they are. But let's move on to the to the logo, which I think is pretty cool. I think everyone agrees the logo is cool, and it's weird. I don't know. I think the reason I'm saying this is because we have to grade these all individually. But if I put them all together, it's an F. If I grade them individually, they're cool. They're all cool individually. Um, the logo, super cool. I like the panda. He's angry. He's got a little smirk on. Um, and it's nice and minimalistic too. It's not too in detail with the panda. So, and they've got a lot of points. It's very a pointy thing. And his little ear has like a bite out of it or something.
Yeah, it has some attitude.
Yeah. So I give the logo an A.
Yeah, same thing. I think part of that is because we're seeing it on a white background. I opened up
Yeah,
the I opened up that press release and looked at the graphic on the press release. It's like on a dark orange background and it looks terrible.
that's disgusting.
But on a white background, it looks nice because it actually looks like a panda. Uh, yeah, but it's solid. It's like I said, much better than this Hangzhou one that is rumored.
The
It
finger
looks
pointing.
like an Overwatch League skin or an Overwatch League
I
icon,
agree.
which is I think the point of it. So yeah, so I'd give that an A also.
All right, the colors. I'm specifically. I don't know what to go off of, but I'm gonna go off the skins. Um, which is a yellowish orange, I think. So I think one of the other issues is someone pointed this out in some Reddit comments is that it's like almost an optical illusion that these skins look yellow, that they're actually orange. I did put them into Photoshop to check what the colors were of the Chengdu in their logo, the word Chengdu, and the skins. They're like two completely different oranges. And then I also did on the press release, which is their Twitter picture. That is a completely different orange as well. So, so
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so hard to grade their colors when they don't know what they are, and I don't know what they are. I,
Just from looking at the skins here, it's Genji and Tracer.
yeah,
And it almost looks like um but I hadn't seen them in the context of like metallic gold. And the first few times I looked at them, I was looking at them like just yellow and brown. And that was actually kind of cool. I was a fan of that. And now I see it's like yellow and black and metallic gold, and it's okay. I don't know, but yeah, if it gets much darker to do like orange and black and metallic gold, that would be kind of sketchy.
yeah. I like the yellow, but they're not yellow. But the team isn't yellow. They
Yeah.
officially are orange. Um, I I don't know. I like I'm so stuck on this, but I let's see. I'll grade the skins. I like the skins. I'll give it like a B minus. I'm just so confused by what color they are that I cannot give myself to give them an A. If they're yellow, black, and gold, I'd like their colors more if they're orange, black, and gold, which they officially are orange, black, and gold. If they're orange, black, and gold, I give them a C. If they're yellow, black, and gold, I would give them like a B. But
Yeah. I tend to agree, yeah, that we'll have to see exactly how this all falls out. But with just this specific graphic, OverwatchLeague.com, where they got the Genshin and Tracer skin, I like that. That's a very, very solid B plus.
yeah. If I had to grade their twit pick right now, I would give it an F, and I would tell them to fire their graphic designer immediately. Because that I don't know, that orange is not at all like the orange in Chengdu or on those skins. It's like Philly Fusion orange. It's like Overwatch League orange almost. It's like a little bit brighter than Philly Fusion orange, or a little more like yellowish, I guess. But it's very shocking to me that it. I don't know. I don't know. I have no clue. But overall, I think their logo's cool. I think their nickname's cool. I'm just confused as hell as to what their colors are. Um, Anything else to say about these branding reveals, Joe?
Not much. Yeah, we've got three more. So, or two more? Three more.
Three more. We got
Three more.
Hangzhou, DC, and Vancouver. I am not looking forward to grading DC's based off their Microsoft Paint shield.
Yeah, hopefully the skins can pull that out.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the leaks I all looked pretty bad, and then once the full branding came out, I was like, okay, this is better. So maybe DC will do the same exact thing, but right now that shield is way too simplistic, yet has so much going on at the same time, which is not good. But let's move on to some news. We had a couple of signings this week. There's not too much news. The first piece is that NYXL has signed Nene from their XL2 roster. They are officially up to 5 DPS players. And there's no sign so far that they are trading any of them to anyone else. And the only sign we've got so far is that they're going to be using Nene possibly as a tank. So this has been rumored for a while, Joe. What do you think about NYXL pulling this guy up?
Yeah, they. Oh, all I can say is they better not. Well, did they pull him up or did they give him a two-way roster or a two-way contract? Do we know?
I don't think we do know, but I'm assuming since they didn't say two way, that it was just a normal pull up.
Yeah, that's a weird decision. For me, tank I guess makes sense. Obviously, um, he's made a name for himself on Axel 2 as a DPS player. But you're right, that's not something they're in need of right now. With Sibyl, Libero, Pine, and now uh, the artist formerly known as Nanohana. Uh, that's just what I'm going to call them now. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, tank is fine. Obviously, he's got some pretty big shoes to fill if that's the case, though. Filling in for Meko and Mono, um, or being able to step up to that level. But yeah, I don't know. I thought NYXO was done, and then they weren't. So I have to see what happens. Maybe they're just trying to um, do something else with XL2, but in that case, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay, they did it. We'll have to see what they do with it from now on. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
Nene was.
mystifies me a little bit.
I mean, he's one of the like top contenders prospects. Specifically, ZP kept saying this is the best guy in contenders. And it's very confusing that they would take him, bring him to their main roster, and then want him to play a different position. So I don't know what they're gonna do with Nene. They already got like those 5 DPS players are insane. When Flower or the artist formerly known as Nanohana is your worst DPS, your lineup is insane. Because honestly, I mean he has been underperforming, but that is their worst DPS is Nanohana Flower. Um, so I mean, if I were them, I would try to trade one of these players because having a 5-player DPS rotation is not the way to go, in my opinion. Maybe they can make it work, but I think 3-player DPS rotation is the perfect amount. I think 5 is a bit too much. So if I were, I mean, I don't know what you trade for if you're NYXL is the thing though. You would have to trade for a backup because your lineup is so stacked already. Um, or just keep, or if anything, I would have kept Nano on our Flower in on XL2 based off how he's been performing, honestly. I don't think there's any point in having that guy in the main roster. I don't know how often he's going to be playing with this many DPS on your team. But he's just there for the hype, basically. Let's move on to Dallas Fuel. They also have signed someone, and they aren't done after this one, by the way. They have signed RCK, who is a EU contenders boy, off tank, right? Off tank?
Yeah.
For Team Gigante, who got second in the Contender Season 1 and made it to the semifinals in Season 2. A lot of people like this signing. Do you agree, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's a good decision. Obviously we had Dallas Field had last season. They sort of had Mickey Siegel, OGE kind of in those tank roles. Obviously Siegel's gone now. Siegel did everything, but OGE and Mickey, I'm sure they would appreciate somebody coming in from behind it. I know people, some people have speculations about Mickey's flexibility, which I mean we saw lots of Mickey's flexibility. I'm not entirely sure where those come from, but maybe that'll be serve a little bit to waylay some of those concerns, perhaps. It's in general, we talked about that to have 3 or more for a position, give you some roster flexibility, give you some room for rotations. I think in general that's a good thing. So I'm a fan of that. People were speculating, well, if it wasn't going to be RCK, that what Dallas really needs is a projectile DPS player. So maybe that's going to be their new signing. I don't know. Have they said they're going to announce that? Do they have a date for that or?
They don't have an announcement. No, they don't have a date for it. No
Yeah,
announcement of an
there's
announcement quite yet.
yeah, but yeah, we know there's at least one more player coming. Like hopefully it'll be like you said, projectile DPS because we've got three great hit scan players on
Yeah.
the roster already.
Rumors
But yeah,
around
it's
hydration right now, so
yeah, which that's a whole different discussion. We'll talk about when that happens, but 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 yeah, it's good adding in RCK to a team that already has two three-letter named players.
yeah.
That'll be good.
Yeah,
Formerly XQC also, so
yeah, true. RCK, XQC, lots of three
AKM
AKM,
OGE.
OGE. This is crazy. But yeah, Mickey. I'm confused by the Mickey rumors saying that he's basically going to be useless and he's only there for attitude or like making people happy. But he was one of the best Brigidas at the end of stage 4, and
But it's just because that nobody countered him.
I don't know why people are just like, well, I honestly I do think Mickey is like a little bit talked about a lot more than he should be. He's not the best player, but he is one of the best Brigidas, and Brigida has not left the meta. Um, so I think Mickey is still very valuable to the Dallas Fuel, and will definitely start on if they are running goats or Brigida comps. So that does confuse me, but I mean, I do think they're gonna use RCK over Mickey for off tank duties like Diva and stuff like that. Because I do think Mickey's Diva got a little bit worse than he was at it, or just everyone kind of just learned from Mickey's Diva, honestly, and improved on it. He was the OG really good Diva, and then everyone just copied him and they were better at it. But he's a really good Brigida, so I think they'll use Mickey as Brigida. RCK will be that off tank guy. So we got some Atlanta Reign news about Defran. So Defran, he kind of freaked out on stream. He was, I mean, this is just normal Defran stuff. Just upset, uninstalls Overwatch, and stops the stream, and then tweets how the contracts, he's ended the contract, all this stuff, that he's not on Atlanta anymore, basically, and he's done with Overwatch forever. Which
He's headed to McDonald's.
yes.
Which I thought might have just been hinting at a trade to Florida, but no, it was.
No. Absolutely not. Defran, then, how far after was this? Like 3 or 4 days? 3 days, maybe?
Not very long, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last week,
November,
so
yeah, November 7th was the first tweet. November 8th, 1 day. My bad.
wow.
Literally 1 day. Okay. So 1 day after this tweet, Defran came out and said that he is not quitting, and it was a dumb mistake, and it wasn't a debate either. Everyone thought it was like him debating, which would have been terrible PR for the Atlanta Reign and him. I don't know why he would fake quit to debate people.
Yeah.
But yeah, turns out he doesn't quit. I was going to say, I mean, based off this, I was going to say if he was debating people, that Atlanta Reign probably wouldn't want him on their team anymore because that's just the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
But he wasn't debating people. It was a mistake, a clear mistake. And I mean, if this happens like a couple more times and I were the Atlanta Reign, I would definitely consider dropping him. But it's just one time, and he clearly wants to improve and he wants to continue to be in Overwatch League. So give him another chance. What do you think about this?
Yeah, the other thing I'd add is yeah, so I agree with most of that that you're saying. But yeah, the one thing I'd add is that hopefully, whatever instigated all this whole thing can be taken care of through the team, ideally, but just in general, making sure that he has the resources he needs to be successful in the pro league. Because if that happened after 2 or 3 weeks of practices and scrims in the off season, 16 weeks before the season starts, that they can be a little concerning. Just want to make sure Obviously they're under lots of pressure, lots of stress. Keep living this kind of professional esports player life. So hopefully, hopefully all the teams, but particularly hopefully Atlanta is making sure to take care of that with their own players.
Yeah, I mean they better. You don't want another XQC situation or something like that where you're just gonna have to forcibly drop him and get some bad PR going. And apparently the murmurs were that Defran was having to play Brigida or some support player in scrims, and he was frustrated by it. And he was sick of doing it, basically. But he's got to realize like he's got to fill the team's needs sometimes.
In the GOATS meta, you aren't playing much soldier.
Yeah, and he really likes playing. I doubt I don't doubt that Defran hates goats. All these DPS players hate goats. But yeah, Defran's got to realize if he wants to be a pro, he's got to be a team player. Which I believe he's beginning to realize that. So that's pretty good. Patch. The next patch is going to require a full reinstall, which then Kotaku confirmed in an email through Blizzard that it will be an optimization patch. A remaster is what Blizzard has called it. Let me read the exact words from this Kotaku article on what Blizzard said. In an email, Blizzard called this a remaster patch and said it's intended to improve load times, optimize memory for constrained systems, reduce hard drive space used by the PS4 version, fix bugs across many maps. No, I don't want to subscribe to your email, Kotaku. Get that out of my face. And make changes to data formats to support future content. I know you want this bad, Joe. I know you are happy about it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, lots of people are. I've heard at least for the edition from back when Moira was added, and she had all those visual effects. And people like, "Oh, my frame rate's dying," whatever. But I'm sure it's been since earlier than that. Yeah, that people have been really wanting this.
Yeah. It also in the article says if you do have the PTR download on your computer, then your re-download will be significantly smaller. So
presumably that means this is going to be coming in with patch 1.30, the Ash patch, whenever that goes live.
Yeah.
So that could be pretty soon, which is nice.
Yeah. I'm down for that. I have the PTR downloaded on my computer, so that'll be quicker for me. I like it. So if you haven't tried out Ash, download the PTR now, and you can have a smaller update when you update to the Ash patch on the live server. That's exciting. That's going to be exciting. Let's get into our topic for today. We're done with the news. We're going to talk about a quick topic, and that topic is Fantasy Overwatch League. Because this is the year. Last year, when Nate Nancer announced Overwatch League, he said this is the year. Season 2 is the year they will have an official Blizzard run Overwatch League Fantasy. And I'm excited for it. They haven't said anything about it, so that kind of worries me. But right now, I'm going to go off the fact that Nate said that this was coming, and it better come. Last year, we had Winston's Lab Fantasy, which was okay. So Joe, before this, you told me you're not too deep into the fantasy game. You don't know too much about it. Let's take your perspective. What do you know about fantasy sports / fantasy esports?
What in terms of like what I want, or
how does it work? How do you know how it works?
Is this a quiz?
This is a quiz.
It's you've got things like the High Noon Pick'em, which is something that I did over in season 1. That isn't quite the same as getting into an actual fantasy situation and stats for the players and picking your own team and that sort of thing. So to be able to expand into that'd be cool. I know they were doing some sort of modified version of that for Overwatch World Cup on Winston's Lab, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was happening until later, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah. So obviously you have things like pick'ems, which were easy to run last year, but without the stats, because we know that Blizzard hated giving out those stats. They really wanted to keep them to themselves, and I'm really guessing it's because of fantasy. Like I do not think they want other people to run fantasy before they do. And that's mainly because fantasy sports is such a huge moneymaker, especially fantasy football. Like it is so popular. Almost, I mean, that's one of the main reasons I still watch NFL is because fantasy football is so much fun. So I think, and the NFL doesn't own like rights to these stats or anything like Blizzard does. So anyone can run a fantasy football league, and I'm sure NFL would rather they own it, obviously, and that's what Blizzard is going for. Fantasy, I mean, fantasy sports, if you don't know what they are, you get in a league with about anywhere from the leagues usually have anywhere from like 10 to 14 people owning a team. And then you draft players in this league. So if we're talking Overwatch League, you would most likely want to draft someone like Fleta or Carpe. You want to draft the people who are going to score you the most points, and you get points. I'm going to go based off what Winston's Lab fantasy was. In Winston's Lab, you got the most points for kills. You got minus points for deaths. You got points for whenever your player ults. You got points whenever your player gets a first kill, and you got minus points whenever your player gets the first death. So, in Winston's Lab, which was an issue, in my opinion, DPS players were very, very, very valuable because they were the only ones scoring points because kills mattered the most. Mercy players, they not only did they have no value, they had negative value. Like if you look at the final stats, these Mercy players all have like negative points because they weren't getting kills.
And then also there's Roshan.
Yes, there's Roshan.
but yes.
They were getting no kills. They were getting majority deaths, majority first deaths most likely, because Mercy is always the targeted one for a first kill. They never got first kills, and I guess they were getting majority of their points from ults, which was a weird. I guess that's a kind of a cool stat for fantasy, but it's kind of weird at the same time. So in Winston's Lab, DPS players were very heavily, and you would have to fill out your lineup for your teams with 2 DPS players, 2 tanks, and 2 supports, much like an actual Overwatch League lineup. So that's what fantasy kind of is. Then each week you go head to head with someone else in your league, and depending on how many points your players score compared to their points, you either get a win or a loss. So it's so addicting because it's not only, you want to draft the best team and then go watch them every week. Honestly, it's just fun, and it gets you watching almost every game. For me and fantasy football, I watch almost every game now because my players are on these random teams that I wouldn't care about, but now I do because they're on my fantasy team. But yeah, basically, I kind of just wanted to take this time. Joe doesn't know too much about it, so I guess I'll just dive deep into, because if Fantasy Owl comes out this year, I definitely want to make a separate podcast for it. I definitely want to analyze some things. I love fantasy sports, and I would love to analyze Fantasy Overwatch League. And here are some improvements, or here are some things I think Blizzard should do with their official one that Winston Lab didn't do, but they weren't able to do because they didn't have full stats, of course. But anyways, here's the number one thing they do here on Winston's Lab: they differentiate points for what position you play. So if you got a kill and you were a DPS, you got 2 points. If you got a kill and you were a support, you got 3 points. On Blizzard's official thing, I want them to dive even deeper. I know this might get complicated, but I want to be able to say, if you play Mercy and you get a kill, you get a lot of points because you rarely get a kill on Mercy. Compared to if you play Zenyatta and you get a kill, it should be worth less points. I think that will fix the problem that Winston's Lab obviously had with their Mercy players, who were virtually worth less than nothing because their kills were worth the same amount as a kill from a Zenyatta player, and Zenyatta players get kills way more often. I also want them to add hero-specific points. If you're a Junkrat, I want there to be specific amount of points for how many Riptire kills you get, rather than just a general stat for if you ulted. I would love to see Riptire kills. I would love to see how many kills. I don't know, but this is a complicated stat. But if you're a Widow player, maybe how many kills or assists you get for having walls up. I know Overwatch League has these stats. I want headshots, points for headshot kills. Specifically, if you're a Widow player or a McCree player or a Soldier player or an Ashe player now. I know this is super complicated. There are so many heroes in this game, but I think the more complicated it is, the better it is going to be for these fantasy Overwatch League players on sort of picking what player they want, and it's going to make it a lot more balanced. Because right now you're going to want to pick the Widow players because they're getting tons of kills, like Carpe and Fleta. Fleta is by far the most valuable fantasy player to own on this list. Like 591 points to 509 against Carpe. It's a pretty big difference right there. And just having any like DPS player that plays Tracer or someone that isn't getting as much kills, just not as valuable. This would even the playing field out. And make it so you could get a valuable Tracer player or a valuable Widow player. And also the ability to sort of dive into stats. You could say based off matchups too. You could have arguments like, I don't know, let's say I'll set up a scenario. Let's say the NYXL are playing Dallas Fuel this week, and you have, let's say, Pine on your team, and you see, oh, there are two Pine there are like three maps where NYXL usually plays Pine. I'm going to start Pine this week, and stuff like that. Specific matchups, specific map types, and really diving in deep based off of just what is going on and what the situation is. Because fantasy is deceivingly simple, in my opinion. If you know nothing about football, you can play fantasy sports and you could be really good at it just by saying, "Oh, these players are really good. I'm going to draft them." But the best of the best, they really dive deep into specific situations in fantasy football, and say, "Oh, my wide receiver is playing this really bad defense this week. I'm going to start him this week." And this is the schedule for this wide receiver the rest of the season. It's really easy and really favorable for him, so I'm going to pick him up off the waiver wire and start him, and stuff like that. There's a lot of deep analysis that can be made, but in the end, it's mostly luck, and that is why it's deceivingly simple. Because you can analyze the hell out of fantasy sports, but in the end, in the end, you could take a look at a very favorable matchup for maybe Fleta, who's been performing super well the entire season, and then he just flops one game because you don't know exactly what's going to happen in the end. So that is why it's deceivingly simple. That's what I think they should do. It's a mouthful. I know it's a lot of stuff. Joe, what do you think they should do for fantasy as someone who's never played fantasy before? Like, what attracts you to something like fantasy sports?
I guess, first thing, the most important for somebody like me, they're trying to pull people in who might otherwise not be involved, would just be that it needs to be really really well thought out and well executed. It needs, they talk about Blizzard polish. It needs to have Blizzard polish, even though it's not, even though it's not an actual game, because if it's like their mobile app, for example, was not super friendly, uh, to not super user friendly to talk, but they'll use that very
Yeah.
much. Um, and for example, there and just we complained all last season about their website that we didn't have a stats page until like a week before finals, and the old schedule is still up, 4 months after, and all
Yeah.
this. Um, so yeah, it needs to be done well, and it needs to feel good. But yeah, in general, lots of those things you're talking about, that those all seem to make sense. Making it, putting it in a position where that it does make sense for no matter what experience level you're coming into it with, um, to make sure that everybody's getting what's going on.
Yeah. Um, I really agree with you on that. Like, it's just I mean, the best fantasy websites are working well. I mean, it's super hard to build a fantasy website because you have to have a full player database, a full stat database in there, and you have to have a system that allows those stats to update live, so that they can take a look at the matchups live. And so far, whoever they have hired to do their Overwatch League website, um, I don't. I would be curious to see if they were able to do something like that, because so far they have made an okay Overwatch League website that could definitely have some improvements, and there's barely anything that is like updated live on that website already. Just there's just like a live scoreboard kind of, but I don't think stats are updated live at all or shown live at all. So they're really going to need to expand their stat. I mean, this seeing these things really, and what you just said really makes me realize, like, yeah, it seems like they're nowhere close to doing this fantasy thing. It might be season 3, but we'll see if they could pull it out of the woodworks. But I really, really think that to succeed, they're going to need that stat depth, because I think that was the biggest downfall of Winston's Lab. Of course, I'm not getting upset at Winston's Lab at all. They did what they could with what they had available. Obviously, I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they tried to do it. I personally, I think I drafted a team and then I just like left it alone after 1 week because I was like, this is kind of stupid. Supports are worth nothing, and I have to play them, because you have to play your supports, and one of them is getting negative points, and it's just like, okay, can my Mercy player get less negative points than his? It's just like, it's just kind of weird. But I'm really hoping Blizzard comes out with an official one this year. And mainly because I would love to analyze it. I'm deep into the fantasy football game, and fantasy sports game, and I would love to get deep into some fantasy esports as well. And just I would love to like my favorite podcasts are like fantasy football advice podcasts where people are calling in, people are like asking who I should start this week. Like, I would love to do that for Overwatch, because I know more about Overwatch than I do football. So anything else to say about fantasy sports before we sign off, Joe?
I guess, I feel like I say this about every single thing we talk about, but we just gotta wait and see.
We gotta wait and see.
Yeah.
Hopefully Blizzard nails it, and if they don't, then Blizzard, please hire me because I can nail it. Twitter, let's boast our Twitters, Joe. My personal Twitter is JWGeorgeIV. Joe's Twitter is Kirkpatrick_Inc. That's INC. And then our show has a Twitter. It's On The Flank Show is our Twitter handle. Our email is ontheflankshow@gmail.com. You can send a topic or anything you want to talk about to either that email, or you can tweet at us On the Flank Show, once again, is our Twitter. Of course, you are listening to this podcast, but if you would like to listen to it in a different way, we are at ontheflank.podbean.com on the internet, or also on my YouTube page, which is linked in my Twitter. It is John George, very hard to search and find. We are on iTunes. If you're on your phone, we are on Apple Podcasts, specifically an iPhone. But if you are on an Android phone, we are on Spotify. And before the show, I have just submitted us to Google Play, which means we might be on Google Play pretty soon. We're under review right now, but keep a lookout for that. I am sure we will tweet about it. Thank you guys for listening. Another great week of branding reveals. This is us signing off.